Okay. All right, here we are on Ultra Z. I'm actually gonna start this new thing with with other players. This one's featuring Pitou, and he should be
Yep.
two. Okay, there we go. And this is
Yep.
against. Oh, it's a teammate of yours.
Yep. He is a teammate.
And what's the team called?
The team is Team Ascension,
Ascension.
and this was spectated by a lot of people. This was an in-house tournament, actually. This was the final round of the Diamond Masters division,
Oh,
and
wow.
I ended up actually taking this game.
Nice.
And sorry, spoilers, but
Yeah, well, it's all right.
yeah.
This is more for a learning experience versus
Yeah,
trying to
ZvZ.
trying to get ZvZ.
So, all right. So
So go ahead.
I'll go over, huh?
So go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah. So I'll go ahead and I'll go over my basic ZvZ on Altsarim. So on Altsarim, it's a obviously 4-player map. It's a huge map, gigantic. We got close spawns, which was really lucky, and we both sent our overlords the exact same way, which was again really lucky for both of us. But on normally you're not gonna find your opponent off the bat. And what I do this game, I believe, is I open with a 15 hatch first, because this map is just so big. Even knowing it's ZvZ, even knowing people do cheesy strategies on this map like 10 pools or Ling, Baneling all-ins and stuff, I still open 15-15 just to get an early economic lead, and or at least as best as as I could.
Okay. Real quick, in your opinion, what maps are good for at least ZvZ wise? What maps would be considered? Which ones would you veto if you had a choice?
Oh, if I veto any of the 2-player maps for ZvZ, if you're like ever gonna play, if ZvZ is your worst matchup, just veto probably Overgrowth, the Sejong one, King Sejong or whatever it is.
I think I vetoed that one.
Yeah, that one's really bad. It's so short, really good for 10 pulls. And any of the just the really short 2-player maps. There's one 2-player map that is fine for ZvZ. I think it's Habitation. Habitation's okay for it. The Lings have a very long route to get to, and you can scout it with your Overlord really well. So I don't have that one vetoed. But for ZvZ, I just those two 2-player maps I would like, King Sejong and Overgrowth I would veto.
Okay, so those would be the ones that,
Yeah,
in general.
and so
'Cause,
we can see me getting a very early gas. I was scared, honestly, because this is,
yeah.
like I said, this was the final round, and I didn't want to lose to anything like silly. But he's going way more economic than I am at the moment, and I get my Overlord really late, which is bad by me. My Overlord's barely popping right now. Supply block for a little bit there, and we can see him really just not getting his speed yet. Like I got my speed at such an early timing that like it kind of put me a little bit behind him, really. Not picking up my speed yet, but I'm still mining gas at the moment. So,
Yeah.
and this game usually for ZvZ, especially on this map, you're not going to see Mutalisk as off or as much, unless like some really weird early game stuff happens. Usually, you only go Mutalisk if you're ahead early game. Other than that, though, you're going to see roaches and hydras on this map, especially.
Yeah. All right. So I did see Lings coming. So did you see those
Oh
coming
yes,
by?
yes, I saw them with my Overlord. I saw those pop out. So I make a little bit of an like if we go to the production tab, I'm making 6 morts and I already have 2. So I make a total of 8 lings, which is bad by me. I shouldn't have made so many, but like I said, I was scared. I didn't know it was coming. It's better to be over prepared than under prepared, honestly. But these are just sacrificial lings that he's using for scouting, which is obviously like really smart by him.
Yeah. Oh, they're there. Couldn't.
Yep. And other than that, right now we can just see me trying to drone up as fast as possible. He's really out mining me at the moment. He's getting a spine crawler though, actually, if you can notice that. So he was scared I was doing something a little bit pushy.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't
So
have
not,
any.
we both,
He doesn't have his gas. He's now taking one
yeah, he
gas.
still doesn't have his gas, which I'm really surprised. There's one and then there's
He-
2 right there.
Yeah,
So he's taking both gases at the same time.
He's taking
We'll
them
have
at
to
as
see if he
he's
takes
taking them as natural, which is kind of an odd. For me, it'd be odd to see. Is
I
that,
think he did that way if I were to scout inside of his base. He obviously I wouldn't see it. He doesn't wants me to not see the gases. He wants me to scout as little as possible as late as possible.
Oh,
So that
okay.
was a good by him. But he over not extended, but he overbuilt a lot of lings, and he got a spine. But he's getting 2 evolution chambers right now, and we can see I only have one going. I only have one going right now. So I'm ahead as far as that upgrade comes, but I'm gonna be behind in overall upgrades soon.
All right. What about like ling bailing? Is that always a potential threat?
Ling. Oh, okay. On ladder, I would always consider that as a threat. At my natural, if I'm gonna be going 15 hatch first, in ladder, I'm always going to build like he did. I'm gonna build a spine in my main. I'm gonna spread creep to my to my to my ramp like he has like this, and I'm gonna probably wall it off with like 2 queens. And then I even said that wall.
Yeah.
But
Okay. So.
he's doing really good with his overspread compared to me. I don't really overlord spread is really important, especially between bases. Like I don't really usually get overlord spread, but always have an overlord positioned over your opponent's third, especially just to see when they're taking it. So now I know right now he's taking his third.
Okay. Oh, apparently my computer's slowing everything down.
Oh, that's
Okay, so he's now taking his third. His third's earlier than yours.
Yep.
As we can see. Look at the income tab, which is not the. You're actually ahead in harvesters. You
that's really surprising, actually. I didn't think I
You're
was.
54. He's got 44 or 52.
Yeah, we can see me scouting right now with these lings, which is really something important to do. Sacrificing lings is never bad, just to sacrifice them to look around your opponent's base a little bit. We can see me also doing really well with injects, which is very important, a mechanic to have, obviously. And I have 2 bases saturated fully right now, and I'm going to start taking my third soon, but it's so much later than he has his third. Like, it's crazy late compared to his. Like, his is already 3/4 of the way done, and mine's barely starting.
Yeah,
Which
but
is, like,
you
really
still
bad.
have the drone lead. Yeah, you're
Yes,
still up by
by a
5.
little bit. And I'm also getting roaches a little bit sooner than he is.
Yeah.
He has 4, I have like 8. It's not obviously anything. It's nothing mentionable, but he never got Zergling speed, which is not really that bad, honestly, since he's going roaches. But I just thought it was kind of noteworthy. Zergling speed you always want to get, just in case.
Yeah. Well, that's for me, at least in PvZ. If I don't see Ling's speed, I gotta assume 2 things. You're either going mutas, which is about I think a 40% possibility, or it's gonna be a lot of roaches. And with my build, which I use my zealot to do a second when I do my 3 zealot push. That's also a secondary scout tactic versus the first one where the probe goes in, takes a look around the base, drops the pylon to block your natural, which is part of the build. And then all I got to do is take a look at, and with the zealots I see whether or not you're making roaches, you got lings. If I'm good, because I can catch queens out of position too.
Yeah.
And that's
And we can see right now he actually took the lead by a lot in harvesters right now, so that's bad for me.
Yeah,
I have really good scouting, however, with my overseer and changeling, which is always important. Just get one overseer with usually your overlord that first scouted. Get one overseer and just scout out, you know.
Yeah. All right, so you're gonna go Roach Hydra.
Yep, I'm going Roach Hydra.
Is that with infestors, or is that just using?
Yeah. No. I only use Roach Hydra early game until late game comes, and then you add in the infestors and ultras and stuff like that, all the fun stuff.
And
but
what about the siege unit of swarm hosts?
No, in ZvZ, I don't like Swarm Host at all. I feel like it would be way too slow a matchup if you were to go Swarm Host and then your opponent goes Swarm Host. It's nothing, like, when it comes to actually how good they are, a Swarm Host can be very effective in ZvZ, but when it comes to just how boring and long the match is, especially if you're playing ladder, then you can't just sit there for 2 hours and, you know, not do anything. But right now we can see him pushing out with all of these roaches right now, and I'm actually building more roaches and hydras at the moment. The bigger roach ball in ZvZ, the bigger roach ball will always win, until obviously you get more hydras added. Like hydras, you can see me moving into him right now because I know I have the advantage at the moment.
Well, you have defender's advantage too.
Boy, well, of course, but it's always like
Oh, there's a queen that's coming out.
He's rallying a lot of units. This is a lot of his minerals and stuff going into this. If we look at the production tab right now, I'm building a lot of roaches, but so is he's building as many as me. He's matching me, and right now that's really bad because he has the bigger roach ball. And the thing about roach hydra versus pure roaches is that the pure roaches in smaller numbers will always win compared to the hydras, where if you get too many hydras, you can straight up lose just because of how squishy they are. Like we can see, I'm gonna start losing this fight just because of how squishy my unit comp is compared to his. His units are dying a lot slower than mine. He's also microing really well, pulling back in the middle. That way, my units get pulled back.
Well, you've got 2-2. You got 2-1.
Exactly. That's another thing. My units are even squishier than I thought they were, and I also took a really bad position to fight. That was really not well played by me.
You're concave. He already had a concave versus yours.
Exactly. It was really. But I got 4 spines up now, which can really help. But I'm also making a ton of roaches. Like, my production is very well right now. I'm spending a lot more of my money than he is. You can notice he's floating 1,000, and he's not taking his fourth behind this. If he were to take his fourth behind this, I think I probably would have lost. But he's not doing that. He's not even spreading creep anymore at this point. Really, he's trying to end the game right now. I noticed that I don't know at this time that he has burrow, so that's really good for him, obviously. His units are regenerating health like crazy, but then right here I can see underground his units moving, and so because if you watch close enough, yeah, you can see them moving underground.
Yeah,
and then I know that he's obviously there. He tries to attack into this. That wasn't really good by him. He can't just brute force it at this time. He snipes that queen, which is really bad for me. And I start making an overseer somewhere. I don't know exactly where. Oh,
yeah, I see. He's
and
moving,
then
he's moving in again.
Right here, he gets into a really good position. This for him was very good. I wasn't expecting him to get into like this good of a position, right, like near my base. And it's at this time he starts trying to run up kind of my ramp, and
I think
I don't know.
This engagement seems like, if you just left it as is, you could have had a major swing either way.
This is where the hydras come in handy. Hydras can destroy roaches very quickly, but at the same time they're hard to use, like I said, because if he has enough roaches he can just brute force them, you know. Yeah. And so at this time I'm like, okay, I pushed him back, that's sweet. I just need to build mass roach now because I have enough hydras. And then it's at this point I was thinking, man, he put me really behind. He probably has a 4th or a 5th, and I'm probably really behind. Like but the thing is, he kept building units. He's barely getting his hive right now, while I already have mine, and I'm getting +3 attack.
Yeah, I see that too.
And so, like, my upgrades way ahead of his at the moment. My queens, I'm injecting. I don't know how well I'm injecting compared to him. He has a lot of energy on his queens, so I'm guessing I'm injecting a little bit better than him.
Well, let's take a look. He's got 100 on that queen. He's got 135.
So it's at this point that I can just brute force.
Yeah. Yeah, your injects are probably a lot better because you're.
So it was at this point that I think just kind of he realized he didn't have enough army to actually fight me, and it's at this point I kind of just, once you get a lead in Roach Hydra, like once you get this big of a lead in Roach Hydra, it's impossible for your opponent to come back, which is the reason I don't really like playing Roach Hydra, is because they'd have to have something crazy like Mass Ultra to be able to beat this army at this point, especially if I killed so much of their stuff beforehand too. He went Mass Roaches and he just wasn't able to do it because his production... The thing about ZvZ is your productions are basically the same, right? Like you're both producing armies really quickly, like very fast and very well, right? And so is Concave, even though it's amazing right now, it doesn't matter with these Hydras. Like I know that I can just take him as fight, and I'm microing a little bit back, that way his Roaches have to move a little bit forward, but it's at this point where my army with with Hydras with +3 attack are doing, which is way too much damage and melting his Roaches, and he just GG's out.
No, yeah, it's I think had he had his 4th
sooner
during that attack, time he held you for quite a long time actually.
Oh yeah, he was holding me on 3 base for a very long time. That's why I had thought at the time I had lost.
And then he didn't push anything behind it. He kept with Mass Roach. I guess it is okay until
no, Mass Roach, it can be Roach Hydra, but you have to have overwhelming numbers. You have to have a bigger ball than they do. You have to have as many Roaches and Hydras. You have to have as many Roaches as they have Roaches and Hydras, plus like 20 or plus like 15.
Well, looking at the losses,
Oh yeah, he lost a lot more than me as well.
you
He lost
took.
about 5,000 or 4,000 more than me.
Yeah. Well,
He lost.
I
Yeah.
mean, considerably looking at like the units killed, like 113 units. You killed 169 units versus his 113. And then looking at the losses, your only units loss was 115 units at 11,925. He's at 188 at 1,600,
Yep.
which is a huge, which is
Yeah,
pretty big, and
it's pretty,
and a lot of that, a lot of his loss of his army came from right here, in general.
yeah. Whenever he tried to push up my ramp, that's whenever he had a really good concave and it was really well played. But it was at that point that the Hydra count was getting too much, and it was the Hydras and the Roaches. Just the brute strength of the Hydras was able to do so much damage to the Roaches. It was able to melt them enough.
Well, plus you're one upgrade ahead of his.
Exactly. Like, and I believe I was getting +3 Carapace. Oh, I wasn't. Oh, well, that's a mistake. But I should have been getting +3 Carapace as well. But I wasn't.
Well, even still, it's like when he was coming up that ramp, there's a lot of. I was looking at that battle. I was like, okay, once Spinecrawler is in position for the attack, but your army is kind of clumped between the geyser and the wall, or or I guess it's a chasm, and then you look at this area that he has, plus this grass here. He actually would have had you if he just stayed there and actually kind of fought it out.
If he would have just contained me, I feel like he didn't need to attack. At that point, he had me contained on 2 bases, and if he would have just kept containing me while getting his upgrades and kept expanding, then perhaps he would have like had a better just hold on the game. Like, he had such a good hold on the game during about like 14 minutes in. He started containing me. I thought that like, oh man, he's not gonna let me expand. He's not gonna let me do anything. Like, I'm fucked.
No, because he
like,
also on the very top part, like right here, he had lings sitting there too.
Well, those lings were just like, he didn't really need those lings.
But no, but even still, even if you did take your expansion in that area, you couldn't take it anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he had lings there, you'd have to take it forward to his base, which is not. On top of that, I did see that he had a few roaches sitting on top of your ramp, and he never moved them in. He moved them back down the ramp.
Yeah, I saw those 5 or 4 roaches that climbed up the ramp. The Hydras that are up the ramp probably would have picked them off anyways.
But he's still, that would have given him a chance to do at least some kind of damage.
It's really hard. ZvZ, because like both armies in ZvZ with Roach Hydra versus Roach, both armies are very mobile, and with both armies being that mobile, it gets to the point to where it's not a micro intensive battle. Like, the extent to our micro in our fights was pulling units back just to get a better concave. Like, if you can get a good concave and you have a bigger army than your opponent, then you win, and that's ZvZ.
Well, yeah, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that he had those 5 units sitting there. He could have moved them further into your base to at least do some kind of damage.
Whether it's
messing with your queens or at least your drone count. At least those 5 could have kind of paid for themselves. While he tries to keep.
That's the thing. Cost effectiveness as well is like he wasn't very cost effective with his army. He kept throwing away roaches after roaches. Yeah, I think the biggest point of no return was whenever I had the overseers over his army, at about I think like 16 minutes. It was like right here, and I had my overseers over his army, and he tried burrowing roaches to like move back a little bit. And whenever he burrowed them, they were still getting shot and killed, and it just wasn't. He burrowed units, and they weren't doing anything. And that was just
the
really
regeneration is almost null and void.
Yeah, it
because
was
of the fact that he was trying to burrow away when he knew that you had an overseer sitting there. On top of that, he attacked into your spine wall, which is kind of like the odd thing to do. He's burrowing in the ground. He actually sees it coming in, and then he still tries to attack. So, for me,
it was just he played very well, and he just took very bad battles.
Yeah, like everything else was good. I'm just
the battle. He played very well.
The battle here was the battle by the spine crawlers was pretty bad. This battle over here could have swung either way, but it swung more in your favor because he kept trying to reposition his roaches, and your army was kind of balled in anyways, so you just had to move forward. So he tried to keep repositioning those units. So he kept losing roaches here. He lost a chunk here, and then he just kind of lost more as it came down. And then you look at the queen's energies on him. You know this.
He has so much. Yeah. It's the injecting. Like if you can, if like just injecting while you're in the middle of a battle can like save you so much.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that he was doing a lot more micro with the roaches over trying to at least make sure the queens are good. It's the same theory with trying to use your warp gates while you're in the midst of an attack, and just ignoring your army for a few seconds to warp in another chunk of army. And
not only that, but if you notice, I have a macro hatch, and like so I have as many hatcheries as he does, and he's not injecting, and I am. So that's why my army was able to eventually like. I know I said something about the production rate of ZvZ is the same. Well, if you can inject better than your opponent, that's almost like a guaranteed army advantage. And at that point, once you have an army advantage in ZvZ, the game gets a lot easier for you.
Oh yeah.
And just being able to inject, to inject and make roaches in ZvZ, honestly, might just be enough to get you pretty far. Honestly, it's micro that'll probably get you from platinum to diamond, but other than that, all the way up to like platinum, you can probably just make mass roach hydra with good injects and keep like expanding, making bases, making drones and stuff, you know, and just continuing to do that. And all while you're doing that, obviously putting pressure on, defending anything he's sending out. But that's another thing. Not every game is going to be Roach Hydra versus Roach Hydra. There will be games where your opponent goes like Mutalisk, where at that point you have to decide if because like the better thing to do versus Mutalisk obviously would be to make Baneling Roach and then just all in him with mass Banelings and Roaches, and that's usually like the best thing to do.
Yeah. So yeah, otherwise mechanic wise, pretty solid for both of you guys. Your injects were a lot better than his, so.
I also spent my money a ton better than him. I told you this is a game I GG. I put the GG tracker on, and whenever I went to GG tracker, it said my spending skill was that of a mid grandmaster, while his was only like mid masters. So that's like a huge thing. Like, if you can't spend your money, then it's all useless. Like if your money is in the bank, then it's useless at that point.
The only time for me, the only time I have a bank is when I'm doing massive attacks, and I'm just doing constant pressure, and my gateways aren't going up. I'm not having where GG Tracker does track my tracks chrono boost, as it would also track your injects, and I think Terran mules. Where you could see that your injects were pretty on par. I mean, you have enough for another inject anyways. I mean, you got couple of guys ready for like 3 more injects per guy, but your spending for your army and your tech was a lot better than his, and your army's spending is actually less than his, but only by 600
spending. Yeah, which is it goes back to the thing we were talking about efficiency. Like, he wasn't as efficient with his army. Roach is much more cost efficient than Hydra's, obviously more expensive, and the upgrades you put into them are more expensive because he has to get range and speed up. But they're just a lot better. I mean, like in masses, obviously Roaches will be Hydras, but if you get that perfect mix of Roaches and Hydras, which is about like 10 Hydras for every 20 Roaches, then you're really good.
Yeah. Well, look at this. Well, if you look at the spending tab, anyways, you're about 425 higher than his in the economy.
Yeah. Which is not that bad.
It's not bad. It's just, but look at the tech tree. Your technology wise, you spent more.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You spent 700 more than him.
That was the tier 3 attack upgrade, I think. That was.
Well, plus going straight to Hydras, because he didn't move from Roaches. He just went straight from.
Which is another thing. If you never tech switch, it eventually gets really bad for you.
Yeah, that's one of those things. Is if I get overrun by one unit, because my builds are meant to be all ins, just hands down. if I don't know the tech you're gonna go prior to me doing my attack, I'm not gonna be prepared for it. And if you go, let's say you go mutas, and I'm expecting roaches, I'm not gonna have the unicomp to defend against the mutas because I'm gonna have more zealots than I am sentries and stalkers. But if I have an idea that I'm like all I see are lings, but maybe with some speed, but or with speed and no speed, then yeah. So.
Well, it's hard, especially in ZvZ, just to scout in general, but scouting is very, very, very important. Anything you can do to scout. Overseers, very good units, but if you're getting an overseer and they already have mutas on the way, it's hard. Honestly, you just have to have really fast either reactions to mutalisk, or you have to know how to you have to know how to scout better.
Yeah.
Either one.
Okay. So, well, cool. Thank you again for
oh yeah, no problem.
showcase this replay. Is there any way to find you and or your team online?
There is actually. Our website is teamascension.com, which is TEAMASCENSION.com.
Okay, and I'll shove that into the description below. So again, thank you again, Pitou, and hopefully we'll do this again next time.
Awesome.
All right, have a good one.
You too.